It's 1st of November 25, and so I guess it's Happy Day of the Dead. Well, I think so, if you live in Mexico, anyway. But I'm getting confused because I thought it was just one day, but turns out it could be 1st or 2nd of November. One of them is All Saints Day, the other is All Souls Day. But my interpretation is it's something that sort of Mexico is most known for, but other Latin American countries as well, for celebrating the dead. Unlike Halloween, where you're sort of spooking yourself out, it's macabre, you're scaring yourself with spooks and stuff. So I wanted to look into this because it seems such a great tradition. I think it was the Aztecs that they said started it, and then when the Spanish invaded Mexico, etc., they sort of brought it into their Catholic tradition, mixed it with their All Saints Day and that sort of thing. So I'm going to look up Google Gemini to find out more about it. But I'm especially interested why it hasn't spread to USA and the West. It's such a nice tradition, So, I mean, I'm guessing one of the reasons is because of Halloween as a tradition, because then you'd have Halloween last night on the 31st of October. You would have your Day of the Dead in November the 1st. On All Saints Day, today is All Saints Day, I think, the Catholic Church. And then Catholic Church All Souls Day on the 2nd of November. So that'd be three things in a row. But I was just looking at it, just to first of all learn about the tradition, because I first heard about it, say, 15 years ago or something, and I thought that's really nice. Um, so it's a multi-day Mexican and Latin American holiday in general, typically November the 1st and 2nd, where families joyously remember and honour their deceased loved ones. It's a celebration of life and death, combining indigenous pre-Hispanic rituals with Catholic traditions. Yeah, because it was already sort of happening with the Aztecs and that for thousands of years probably. And then once the Spanish invaded, they sort of mixed it in with their Catholic traditions. So, first of all, you create an altar on the day. That's the main thing. It's the centrepiece of the celebration, a private altar built in homes or cemeteries to welcome the returning spirits of the dead. So it's a sort of family thing, or it was, but now Mexico started in 2016 a big parade, and it's because of the movie Spectre, the James Bond movie, in 2015. Because in an early scene in that, they had James Bond running about a big parade in Mexico for the Day of the Dead, which didn't actually exist. And then because of that, the Mexican Tourist Agency or whatever created one, and it's a big success, and they're going to keep it. So I suppose it's a bit like the Mardi Gras as well, in New Orleans. I think that's around about the end of February, Pancake Tuesday or whatever. Well, it goes on for a week or 2 weeks, and that's sort of before Lent, isn't it? I think. So again, it's sort of mixed in with the Spanish Catholic thing, I suppose. Uh, yeah, the altar is laden with favourite foods, drinks like tequila, etc., and personal possessions of the departed to nourish and please them after their long journey. Photos of the deceased loved ones are placed on the altar. The four elements offerings represent the four classical elements. Earth, represented by food. Water, a jug of water to quench the spirit's thirst. Wind, represented by papel picado, delicate, colourful cut paper banners. And fire, candles to light the path for the spirits. Flowers and scents. Marigolds, these vibrant orange and yellow flowers are the most iconic decoration. Their colour and strong scent are believed to guide the spirits from the cemetery back to the family's altar. Copal incense. The smoke from this resin is used for its purifying scent and is also thought to help guide the spirits. And it includes skulls and skeletons, known as a calaveras. Sugar skulls, called calaveras de azúcar. These are decorative skulls made of compressed sugar and water. They are often colourful and have the name of a deceased person or a living friend written on the forehead. La Catrina. The elegant skeletal female figure, originally a satirical engraving by Jose Guadalupe Posada, is a common symbol representing the Mexican custom of laughing at death. People often paint their faces like stylized skulls and dress in colourful, elegant attire for parades. Calaveras Literarias. These are short, humorous poems written about friends or famous people, poking fun at them as if they were already dead. And then there's food and drink. Pan de muerto, bread of the dead, a sweet enriched bread, often decorated with bone-shaped pieces and topped with sugar. It is baked specifically for the holiday and placed on the ofrenda and eaten by the living. Feasting, families gather to eat the deceased's favourite foods such as tamale or mole and share stories and memories. Cemetery visits, families visit the graves of their loved ones to clean, restore and decorate them with marigolds, candles and offerings, turning the cemeteries into brightly lit, festive gathering places. They may hold candlelit vigils and share food and stories right at the gravesite. The holiday is characterised by an atmosphere of joyful remembrance, celebrating the cycle of life rather than mourning. It is a heartfelt way for families to ensure the memory of their ancestors' lives lives on. And then I wondered which countries celebrate it. The tradition of the Day of the Dead, or Dia de Muertos, is most famously and vibrantly celebrated in Mexico, where it originated as a blend of ancient indigenous traditions and Catholic observances. However, many other countries, especially those in Latin America and places with large Mexican or Catholic populations, have their own related or similar celebrations. Here are the main countries and regions that observe Dia de Muertos or similar holidays on or around November 1st and 2nd. Mexico. The core celebration. The celebration is a national symbol and is recognised by UNESCO as intangible cultural heritage. It features the most well-known traditions like ofrendas, marigolds, sugar skulls and large parades. Other Latin American countries. Many nations observe similar days, often rooted in the Catholic observance of November the 1st being All Saints' Day and November the 2nd being All Souls' Day, with varying degrees of indigenous or local cultural elements. Guatemala, known for the unique giant kite festivals in towns like Zumpango, where massive colourful kites are flown to communicate with the spirits. Ecuador celebrates Dia de los Difuntos, Day of the Deceased. Families visit cemeteries, and shares traditional foods like colada morada, a purple corn drink, and guagas de pan, sweet bread babies. Bolivia celebrate Dia de Todos los Difuntos, often marked by elaborate altars with food and drink to welcome the souls back. Brazil observes Dia dos Finados, Day of the Finished Dead, on November 2nd. It is generally a more solemn public holiday focused on visiting and decorating graves with flowers and candles. El Salvador, which can include the colourful La Calabaza Festival, a celebration of indigenous culture and myths. Peru and Costa Rica also observe similar days of remembrance and cemetery visits. In the United States, particularly in states with large Mexican American communities like Texas, California, Arizona and New Mexico, vibrant and traditional Dia de Muertos celebrations, including public ofrendas and festivals, have become major cultural events. The Philippines, due to its Spanish colonial history, celebrates Undas, All Saints' Day, All Souls' Day, on November 1st and 2nd. Millions of Filipinos travel to their hometowns to visit and often hold all-night vigils with food and drink at the graves of their loved ones. These celebrations, while sharing the central theme of honouring the dead, vary widely in tone, from the solemn observance in Brazil to the vibrant festivals in Mexico and Guatemala. I would go for the vibrant festivals. Bring it to the West, come on, bring it to UK. And then I asked her why it's not spread to USA and West. Not in any big sense, really. While it is true they think it touches on cultural diffusion, history, and dominant traditions, while it's true that Dia de Muertos has not become the primary mainstream tradition in the US and Western Europe, it is actually actively celebrated in many Western communities, particularly those with a significant Mexican and Latin American heritage. Well, we don't have that sort of heritage yet. I mean, we do have some who have come over, right enough, but not in big numbers yet. The primary reasons it hasn't become the dominant tradition are historical and cultural, largely due to the pre-existence of Halloween and different Western cultural attitudes towards death. I mean, one of the main issues is the pre-existing dominant holiday, Halloween. The single biggest factor is that the date of November the 1st was already occupied by a well-established and commercially successful holiday in the US, Canada and Western Europe, Halloween. Yeah, because this gets separate roots. Halloween, All Hallows Eve, as it should be called, really, because it's actually about the day before the 1st of November, really. Has roots in the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain in Ireland and Scotland, which evolved into a Christian-influenced holiday that focused on ghosts, mischief, and costumes meant to ward off evil spirits. Cultural saturation. When immigrants from Mexico and other Latin American countries arrived in the US, they brought their traditions, but they encountered an already massive cultural and commercial phenomenon in Halloween. Yeah, because I suppose Halloween, I mean, these holidays are massive for sales, you know, for the shops and stuff. So they've already had that. You've got Halloween, Easter, Christmas. Um, Contrasting themes. The dominant Western holiday themes are fear, spookiness, and the macabre, while Dia de Muertos centres on joyful remembrance, family connection, and embracing death as part of life's cycle. These contrasting atmospheres make it difficult for the two to completely merge, or for one to displace the other. And two, the other factor, different cultural attitudes towards death. The underlying philosophical difference is also key to its limited spread in mainstream Western culture. The Western view, generally, death is often treated as a separation, sometimes to be feared, or a solemn private event, hence the focus on ghosts and horror in Halloween. Whereas Dia de Muertos view, death is viewed as a natural continuation of life, and the spirits of the dead are welcomed back for a single night to share in a joyous family reunion. This concept of engaging with the dead through joyful celebration is profoundly different from the more reserved grieving customs in most Western countries. And it's had limited exposure until recently. Historically, outside of communities with direct Mexican heritage, exposure to Dia de Muertos was minimal. Media and marketing. While Halloween is an annual focus of major marketing campaigns, Dia de Muertos traditions only began to enter the global mainstream consciousness recently, especially with the 2017 Disney Pixar film Coco and the globally televised parade in Mexico City, which was actually inspired by a scene in the 2015 James Bond film Spectre. So that big parade in Mexico City didn't exist before then. It was Spectre that sort of inspired it. This recent exposure is now leading to a rapid growth in popularity and awareness in the West. It is spreading to the West, so it says. It's important to note that the Day of the Dead is experiencing a significant surge in popularity and is now widely celebrated in the US and other Western countries, often alongside Halloween. Mexican American communities, cities with large Latino populations like San Antonio, Texas, Los Angeles, Tucson, Arizona, and Chicago host some of the largest, most vibrant, and most traditional celebrations outside of Mexico, often featuring massive parades, community ofrendas, and cultural festivals. Wider adoption. It is increasingly common to see cultural institutions, museums, and schools in non-Latino areas creating ofrendas and hosting events to learn about the holiday, showing that its spirit of joyful remembrance is resonating with a broader audience. Yeah, and then I asked her about this parade inspired by the James Bond movie, Spectre. The massive spectacular Dia de Muertos, Day of the Dead parade that now runs annually in Mexico City was, in fact, inspired by the opening sequence of the 2015 James Bond film Spectre. Here is a breakdown of how a fictional movie scene became a major real-life cultural event. The fictional scene. The opening of the James Bond film Spectre features a dramatic foot chase through a massive, vibrant Day of the Dead parade in Mexico City, complete with giant floats, elaborate costumes, and thousands of extras. The reality. Prior to the film's release, this type of large public parade did not exist in Mexico City. Traditional Dia de Muertos celebrations were generally more intimate, consisting of family gatherings, building ofrendas, altars, and visiting cemeteries. The inspiration. After Spectre premiered, the visually stunning parade created a worldwide expectation. Mexico's tourism officials realised that tourists would arrive expecting to see the spectacular event from the movie. The new tradition. In response to this demand and to boost tourism, the Mexican government created the first official Dia de Muertos parade in October 2016, a year after the film's release. The first real parade even used some of the costumes and props originally created for the movie set, and it was a massive success, drawing hundreds of thousands of spectators. It has now become a permanent annual fixture and a major celebration that highlights Mexico's rich culture. I think, well, no, the Day of the Dead's get, like you say, UNESCO cultural heritage thing. Would you like? Well, yeah, and then I wondered who has it in the first or second, because I couldn't make sense of that, you know. I thought maybe some were having it in the first and the others in the second, but it turns out it might be a 2 day thing or even a 3 day thing actually. Maybe it's even longer than that, you know, I don't know. I mean, Mardi Gras is like 4 weeks or something, like, I don't know. The 1st and 2nd of November are important dates for honouring the dead across many cultures as they align with the Catholic holiday All Saints' Day on November the 1st and All Souls' Day on November the 2nd. The most famous celebration on these dates, Dia de Muertos, Day of the Dead. But many other countries also observe them. Here is a list of countries that typically have major cultural or religious. Yeah, so I just wondered this. Day of the Dead, this is what I really want to know. These countries, mostly in Latin America, celebrate a variation of the Day of the Dead that blends indigenous traditions with Catholic beliefs. So in Mexico, it seems to be run from October the 31st to November the 2nd. In Guatemala, they have the Giant Kite Festival, Festival de Barriletes Gigantics. Ecuador has, so when are they having this? Is this November the 1st? Yeah, I don't know. Probably. Ecuador has Dia de los Difuntos. Then we've got Peru, have one. El Salvador, Haiti. They've got their voodoo thing, haven't they? Voodoo celebration honouring the dead, held on November the 1st and 2nd. And the Philippines, All Souls Day. Countries observing All Saints Day, and so I'm not really so much interested in this. I was wanting this more to be about Day of the Dead rather than the Catholic thing, which this is, I think. But the tradition often involves visiting cemeteries to clean and decorate graves and lighting candles. You get Spain, November the 1st, Poland, Italy, November the 1st, and something on November the 2nd. Brazil, November the 2nd. Croatia, All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day. France, November the 1st. But these aren't the same things, really, you know. It's more a sombre thing to do with the Catholic Church, I think. Yeah, so when did it start? I just wondered about the history of it. The holiday has 3 main historical starting points. The ancient indigenous roots, thousands of years ago. The origins of honouring the dead at this time of year trace back to pre-Hispanic, Mesoamerican cultures like the Aztecs, Toltecs and the Mayans. These cultures held a cyclical view of life and death, believing that mourning the dead was disrespectful. The Aztecs, for instance, had a month-long celebration honouring the goddess of the underworld, which took place in the summer month of August. And then there was the Catholic merge in the 16th century because of the Spanish invasion, really. The modern dates of November 1st and 2nd were established after the Spanish colonisation of Mexico in the 16th century. The Spanish colonisers moved the indigenous festivals to coincide with the Catholic holidays of All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day on November 1st and 2nd. To facilitate the conversion of the native population to Catholicism, this created the syncretic holiday Dia de Muertos as we know it today. And the Mexico City Parade, as I just said, it was started in 2016. So in summary, the tradition of honouring the dead was thousands of years ago, Mesoamerican cultures, and the November dates were because of the Spanish invasion in the 16th century to Mexico, etc. And the Grand Parade started in 2016 in Mexico City. Yeah, so it's all very interesting, but my main point is I really hope it takes off in the UK, in the West, because it seems such a nice thing, and probably it's the most psychologically important of the holidays, I would say, now that people are, well, I'm non-religious, I'm guessing most of us are, most of us don't think of even Christmas as a religious holiday, for those that celebrate it. So yeah, I was just really interested in all that, and I really hope it takes off because it's almost non-religious, really. I mean, it's just, it probably helps you psychologically with the departed and that, the thought of spending a day thinking about them, doing things actively for them in a joyful way as well, and not, whereas Halloween you're meant to spook yourself out, this isn't, this is like sort of reflecting on the dead, because like in the West we have Remembrance Day for those that died in the big wars, World War One and Two especially. Why not have one for all the dead, sort of thinking about them? You could even visit their graves and things. So I really hope it takes off in the UK, in the West, because it's really a charming thing. And I think psychologically it's maybe the most beneficial of the holidays that we celebrate in the West at the moment. So, and there's a few other ones I would like to see. There's one like maybe Diwali, where you cover yourself in colours, and if that is Diwali, that sort of thing. Using it as a non-religious way, though, just as a celebration of life, really. Yeah, it's just something to think about, and that. Okay, that's all for now. Let's all wind down. Let's relax. Be like the tortoise. Relax. Take it easy. Take it easy. Relax yourself out of this video. Okay, goodbye.